Shall we start? Please turn on your cameras. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the session on addressing harmful cultural norms to empower young people. This session is going to cover the topic on harmful cultural and societal norms, which are harmful especially for the young people while they are accessing sexual and reproductive health services. So let me just introduce Uda Deshapriya, who is going to moderate this session. Uda is a lawyer based in Sri Lanka. She has been part of civil society spaces for the last 10 years, particularly working on gender equality and inclusion. Uda has been a part of IPPF community as a volunteer at the grassroots level and later as a member of IPPF Saron team. So over to you, Uda.
Thank you, Dr. Tayaba. Welcome everybody to the second day of the Youth Forum, and welcome to this session on addressing harmful cultural norms to empower young people. We have three speakers with us today. Our first speaker is Ms. Shalani Palihawadana from Sri Lanka. She's the Director Program of YANSL Youth Advocacy Network Sri Lanka. Shalani is a legal apprentice and a researcher. She has been working with young people with hearing disabilities since 2019. She works closely with Sri Lanka's Ministry of Health and Family Health Bureau. Today, Shalani will speak about disability, societal norms and practices, and SRH services. Our second speaker is Ms. Mahmouda Nasreen Buyan from Bangladesh. She is the youth focal point of FPAB, Family Planning Association of Bangladesh. She has been working on gender and SRHR for the last 10 years. Mahmouda's work involves strategizing and communication relating to sexuality, youth-friendly services, gender and women's rights in Bangladesh. She's involved in the national level advocacy program to combat gender-based violence against women and girls. Today, Mahmouda will speak about child marriage and harmful cultural norms in Bangladesh. Our third speaker is Mr. Tariq Farman from Afghanistan. He works as a project officer with AFGA, Afghan Family Guidance Association. He oversees the SPRINT project, which addresses gaps in the implementation of the minimum initial service package for reproductive health. He holds bachelor's degree in English literature and master's in business administration. Today, Tariq will speak about premature and forced marriage and the risks involved. Attendees are welcome to share your questions and comments in the chat box. After the presentations of the three speakers, we have 10 minutes to answer your questions. Let me invite Shalani to take the floor. Shalani, please start your presentation. You have 20 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Uda. While my presentation is being prepared, I would first like to thank Dr. Tayaba and you especially for accommodating with my a bit of a hectic schedule today. I think Dr. Tayaba is presenting on behalf of me today on the screen the presentation. But while that comes up, I thought I'd start with my organization, Youth Advocacy Network Sri Lanka, and so that everyone gets sort of a context as to what sort of work we have been doing with the PWD community in Sri Lanka. So we are a women and youth-led organization, completely voluntary, and we've been working since 2015. The presentation isn't yet on the screen. Uda, right? Okay. So we can watch a brief video on our organization and the kind of work that we've been doing. It will take about 1 minute. the next, could we move on to the next slide, please? Yes, the next one. Yes, so if we could see, I think the kind of work that we've been doing, it will be, rather than me explaining, it will be better for everyone to sort of I guess the video isn't playing. So I think we can move on to the other content because I don't, the time is also of essence. So today I've been given this fairly difficult topic of talking about disability and how harmful societal and cultural norms have been structured around the whole concept. And on top of that, how sexual and reproductive health comes into play. And I thought of first, Dr. Thayaba, if we can go to one slide down. Um, uh, oh, um, okay.
You want
Right.
me to start from beginning?
I changed the presentation a little bit earlier today. Could we go to, there are 3 video clips later in the presentation. Yes, the one after that. Yes, this one. So yeah, I will, I just, yeah. So I just want to first start off by saying that what I'll be sharing today is not an exhaustive list. And definitely the difficulties and challenges faced by the PWD community isn't something, it's like we cannot fully sometimes understand other and unless it's like we only know what we as an organization have come to know from the experiences that we have like they have shared with us and the observations that we have made. And I will also be focusing a little bit more on people living with hearing disabilities, because that is where the RNSL have been working on. And we have also seen a lot of difficulties, challenges, and gaps in SRHR, like delivering SRHR services to them. So before I go on to move on to my first point of discussion, I would like to show you that clip, which will sort of put context into what we will be speaking today. The next slide, Doctor. Yes, that one.
Should I click on this?
Yeah. I do not think working thing.
Yeah, I'm just sharing it.
Dr. Taiba, perhaps we may have to open it on YouTube as a link.
Yeah, I'll just copy
Yeah.
it and
the videos that I shared are from a Google Drive. So maybe the Google link, that the Google Slides link will work better than the presentation.
No, it is taking me to another window actually. So I have to again share it. Let me just share my
Yes.
screen and then it will
Yes.
open
So
everything.
yeah. Um. Uh, Dr. Thaiba, we didn't hear the sounds. I think you will have to share the sounds also when we come to the next video. So, okay. So, the point that I wanted to first bring to your attention is that one of the main uh, challenges faced by PWD, so people living with disabilities, is that the society do not view them as sexual beings. The fact that so in essence, the wider society somehow the how it is structured is that they are not viewed beyond their disability. So this becomes challenging in a variety of ways. First, it could be the fact that they are always overlooked when it comes to jobs, and it could also be the fact like that there's lack of accessibility. Maybe it's an absence of a ramp, or maybe it's all staircases, there's no elevator, and maybe it's absence of sign language interpretation, or maybe it's access, like lack of access, or like lack of accessibility when you read something, or when you need like an auditory aid, where if you are a person with visual impairment, then you cannot access anything that is written down, where you are supposed, like we're meant to read. So while all of those are like that, those are at those sort of function as glass barriers or glass ceilings to towards accessibility, especially when it comes to SRHR. The fact that they are not viewed as sexual beings comes into play more like strongly. So as Janit, our friend in this video, says that this whole concept of marriage, relationships, and like sexual and reproductive health rights needs are not considered. They are like it is considered that people living with disabilities do not have them. They are always overlooked. To bring on an example from like I have my best friend is a person living with a physical disability. One of the challenges that he always have been facing is that whether it comes to relationships or any other sort of connection, even sometimes even if the partner is okay, when it comes to the stage that they go to the families and talk, as is the custom with many of our South Asian like the regional practices when it comes to marriage, uh, it's always like the disability comes across, and it's always it's the elephant in the room, and it ends in a bad note, because no matter how good a person you are, disability comes across all the time as and it is not like favorably looked upon by the wider society. And in the case of marriage or relationships, the parents or maybe even the partner. And also this there's also this aspect of a power dynamic, where sometimes a person having access to maybe information, or like giving access to certain facilities, do not leave people living with disabilities to have sexual needs. They always restrict access. So again, an example that I have come across with the Ratmalana School for the Deaf, where IANSL was working with, there was this instance where when we were doing the training on puberty, we spoke about masturbation. And after the session, this young boy came and he wanted to know, but this also, of course, happens with the aid of interpretation, because a person living with a hearing disability needs to they communicate in sign language, and that interpretation has to come through an interpreter. His question was whether like a huge sound comes when you masturbate, and that wasn't addressed in our training. And that was, I was like, then I said that it is not, but like, and then masturbation is a normal thing. That whole standard information about masturbation, where and when, and like if, whether, like if you are concerned, all of that, what sort of time, like what are the instances, if at all, if you want to be concerned if you are masturbating, all of that. But his problem was whether there's a sound coming. And when, after we clarified, the interpreter later told me that one of his teachers, when he asked the same question, has told that when you masturbate, there's a huge sound coming, like bells ringing, and this boy hasn't been masturbating ever since. So that is also, that is reflective of the fact that that they are not viewed as people with sexual needs, another person. And that this whole withdrawal of, or the withholding of information, how that affects their quality of life, and also their like access to sexual and reproductive health rights and services. That is, that that point brings me to also the next point that I wanted to talk about, which I have prepared a clip for, but I think we can skip that part and go straight to what I wanted to share, is that communication gap. This is particularly severe when it comes to people living with hearing disability, or the deaf community. So how they function, how they communicate is through sign language. And the vast majority of the population in the country are not conversant, or they don't know sign language. And another, like, I think more than like the other one, like the majority of them do not even realize the challenges faced by the deaf community when it comes to communicating with the outer society. So here, the problem to access to sexual and reproductive health and rights and services is so severe that like you, like in several, like it's problematic in several layers. So first is that in general, sexual and reproductive health rights and anything with in relation to that is considered taboo in Sri Lanka. Like you can't talk about sex, virginity. There's like a menstruation. They are all taboo topics. And imagine, like, if you're talking about something that is already a taboo, but you all also have to get through that communication barrier where you are talking in sign language and the person on the other end doesn't speak your language, and you always have to go through an interpreter. So in any case, any sexual and reproductive health and right issue, most of them are private to the person. And imagine the difficulty of communicating a really, like, an intensely private issue, maybe to a healthcare service provider, but you have to always go through a middle person who's conversant in sign language to communicate your problem to the person on the other end. So this, and specifically when it comes to the deaf community, the concept of privacy is lost because they always have to go through that communication barrier. And secondly, this also adds up to the trickling down effect, where the information that comes to the deaf community is really whittled down, and the quality and the accuracy of the information has gone down significantly. Again, to demonstrate with an example, at the deaf school, the children, the boys weren't eating bananas, and the girls weren't eating pineapples. This we got to know because we were doing this session on nutrition. And when we asked them why, they said that if somebody has someone from the deaf community have told them that eating bananas for boys will affect their fertility. And eating pineapple for girls will affect their ability to bear children, and that if you like, you will never be able to get pregnant. So the root or the real sort of information is that, like, in the society, there's this whole myth about eating ash plantains, not bananas. If you eat ash plantains, there's this effect on the fertility of men, which is again like a groundless myth. And the thing about pineapples is that if you eat raw pineapples, it's like a traditional remedy to terminate a pregnancy. See, how that information has trickled down to the deaf community is to not eat bananas and pineapples. So the accuracy of the information is distorted to the point that there's no, like, it's so vastly different. So this is, again, sexual and reproductive health and rights being a taboo topic in the outside society, and there's a lot of inaccurate information. Imagine the version that comes through to the deaf community is even more distorted, and the implications of that. And that whole societal idea about not talking about these things openly is affecting it even more so. So, like I said, these are some of the pressing issues that I have and we have as Yanisel observed when we were working with them. And of course, the situation of the global pandemic haven't helped them, because specifically when it comes to people living with hearing disabilities, they have adopted this practice of lip reading, where they read the lips of people who speak and they understand when they are not conversant with the sign language. But now, because of this, because of the mask wearing practice, they cannot even do that. So we wouldn't like imagine, like, we wouldn't even think that a simple protective measure that we do, such as wearing a mask, would be a communication barrier that shuts off a person entirely from the from accessing information. It's just something that we should reflect about, I think, in depth, and also try to find solutions for in order to improve accessibility to SRH information and services to everyone, and also give prominence and a premium to the community living with disabilities. So I think my time is coming to an end, and I am ready to wrap up if there is, and I'm ready to take questions at the end of the session. And I would also like to apologize for this technical mishap that happened. It's due to also my own sort of fault. So apologies, and I hope to meet you back in the Q&A session. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shalani. I found that point about how power dynamics sometimes come into play to withhold information, particularly intriguing. That is something, you know, we need to all keep in mind in our program design and implementation. Thank you so much for bringing that out. Let us move on to our second speaker. Our second speaker is Ms. Mahmouda Nasreen Boyan. Nasreen, please take the floor. You have 20 minutes.
Okay, hello everyone. A very good morning to all of you, and nice to meet all of you. So, Uda, I have a presentation on traditional harmful norms.
Are you able to share your screen? You have a green
Sure.
screen button below.
Sure. Do you see my screen?
Yes. Can you make it full screen, please?
Yeah, sure.
Great.
Okay.
Perfect.
Okay, so welcome to my presentation. We all know about the issues. Issues is basically child marriage and the harmful traditional practices or norms in Bangladesh. So before starting my presentation, I would like to say that in South Asian region, more or less the situation is more similar. So I would like to find it out and would like to hear with you all after my presentation and question and answer session. If there is any question or any similar or dissimilar activities need to share or need to disseminate. So this is my presentation. I'm starting. So the present child marriage status of Bangladesh, as I have said, that more or less in South Asian region, the cultural practice is similar to all of us, but still I have to share something else. Although Bangladesh has progressed a lot in many more indicators in the past few decades. Say, for example, we are progressing in maternal mortality, child mortality or morbidity, or family planning issues and services, but still child marriage is such a social factors or phenomena in Bangladesh which cannot be stopped cannot be stopped anymore, which has been increasing day by day in an alarming rate in Bangladesh. And I have mentioned few reasons of COVID-19 here, from where we can found that in the situation of past 2 years COVID-19, girls are scattered from one another. Their school has been closed. They has been enter into their house. Their all the networks which has been include there along with their friend circles or other well wishers, that has been cut along, and pandemic situation fall their parents in a poverty situation, and that's why they would like to got married their children at very early age. And I have to share another things that very recently I have seen a news in our national national TV channel, that in a school there were 50 girls total. In a school there are 50 girls in a class, but all the girls has got married during this pandemic time, and none of the girls are now available to continue their study on that school. So it is very alarming, and it is the situation which has been arises before COVID-19, but it has came into a fuel in COVID-19 situation. So with this child marriage or child adolescent marriage, the unwanted pregnancies has been increased, and different violence has been increased also along with them, because you know along with the child marriage, the child has not enough or much more knowledge and awareness, so that they have no skill to deal the situation and able to deal the situation, and they have to be prone in suffering in many more disaster situation after the child marriage. So I'm moving forward in my next slide. There is some statistics which shows the current child marriage status in Bangladesh. So present child marriage status includes, as we have seen, that Bangladesh has the highest rate of child marriage of girls under the age of 15 in the world. So see the situation, it is very alarming. And again, if we move on the another point, with 29% of girls in Bangladesh marriage before the age of 15, according to the UNICEF statistics. Again, 50% of Bangladeshi women who are in mid-20 years old married before the age of 18. Another statistic shows that along with those mid-ages married women, 80% are below 15 years old, and married adolescents are experiences different physical and sexual violences. And sometimes, to some extent, girls are considered to be beaten by their husband or in-laws. It is permitted by the society as well. So this is the situation. We know there are diverse and another situation we may have, but I would like to try to compose my presentation in a brief version. So I will move on my next slide. As I have said that the cultural situation is more or less similar, we can find out few things similar here. So root causes of child marriage is basically deep-rooted norms and unequal status of women and men. So culturally, we are considered women as a social burden in Bangladesh. And sometimes more or less we feel like that if a girl get married on she should be sent to their in-laws house, parents get relief to some extent. And sometimes parents, although sometimes parents also think that boys are the breadwinner of the parents, and they will be the future shelter for them. So girls need to marry or shall marry and send to their in-laws. Poverty is another reason. Poverty is a crucial factor which has been increased in COVID-19 situations. Many parents lost their job. They have been lost their shelters to some extent, so they think it very easy to marry their child to and send to them in-laws houses. But evidence suggests that child marriage is practiced across all the backgrounds in Bangladesh, and it is available in elite classes, middle classes, and lower classes. So across all the backgrounds, it is more or less similar because of that or those cultural phenomena about the girl child. So girls are usually burdened with maintaining family's honor. You know that, hope you know that in Bangladesh, the chastity or the purity, the concept is only restricted for girls. So parents always worried about to maintain the chastity or purity of their girl child, and they find it very easier to marry their children, and they think it very easier to maintain or protect the chastity of their girls through married to them. Parents worry about protecting chastity. I have said it. Lack of awareness. Most of the people in our country in a lower class family does not don't know about the social and social and health consequences of child marriage. Child marriage is a crucial reality for every girl, and it's increased the vicious circle of poverty. So at one side, poverty increased the rate of child marriage, and again child marriage increased the rate of poverty. So parents are not much more aware about the issues. They think it very easier to control their poverty and get married their children, but again those girls and their child again those girls, and if they got pregnant during the very early ages, they have much more time to take more children, and those more children again fall to their poverty line increasing, so they can't even think of it because of lack awareness. Economic and social status is another things. Lack of proper religious knowledge. Sometimes I have said that again it is related to more or less related to chastity or purity, so they find it very easier to get married their children. Wars and natural disaster. COVID-19 is a natural disaster. Again, Bangladesh is a disaster prone countries. Most of the time we are suffering from flood, droughts, or another natural disaster or climate, and in these situations it will be very difficult for parents to stay their child at home. Sometimes they need shelters, sometimes they have to go in different camps. So there will be an SRHR problem, there will be a community security problem. So parents again find it easier to send their girl child to in-laws house. So any kind of natural disaster has been increasing the risk or alarmingness of child marriage in Bangladesh. And again, there is another ritual in Bangladesh. I think it is also more similar to India or other subcontinental countries. So dowry is another crucial factor. As much as the girls age is lower, the dowry should be paid in a lower or limited scales, but along with their age increasing age, the dowry claiming has been increasing. So it is another crucial issue in Bangladesh and considered as the root cause. So now I would like to move on the child marriage laws in Bangladesh. So this Child Marriage Restriction Act has been revised in 2017. So before that, we are practicing the earlier British law, which has been established in 1929, but came into action in 1930. And according to these laws, the minimum age for boys to marry is 21, and for girls is 18 years. But in September 2014, Bangladesh government has taken an alarming initiative, and plan to lower the age of marriage for boys from 21 to 18, and for girls 18 to 16. So it it was a very alarming decision for government, but this was highly criticized and increased along with a movement issue from different CSOs and other non-government and government organization, so that this act cannot be came in action. But there is a special provision under section 19, which includes in special cases if parents want, they can be marry their children, they can be got married their children. If sometimes it might be social security issues, it might be poverty or other issues, parents with the parents concerned, parent can marry their children along with the age of 16, that means under 18 ages. And it was again highly criticized, and still it's criticizing, still it is a moment of criticizing, and different NGOs and other government development stakeholders are trying to negotiate with government along with this age 16. So now we can move another slide, which is Muslim Sharia laws. As Bangladesh is a Muslim country, so here the Sharia laws are permitted to marry the children for parents along with the consent of parents under the age of 18. So there is another issues where parents can find access to marry their children below 18 years old. So now I would like to move on the punishment. This punishment is for those British law, which is very funny. That is whoever being a male or female, if he is 21 years old or being female above 18 years age, contract a child marriage, shall be punishable. And the punishment, punishment is 1 month imprisonment, or it would be extended, or a fine. There is a fine entitled for this, and which has been extended to 1,000 taka. So 1 month imprisonment and 1,000 taka was the punishment. But in Child Marriage Restraint Act 27 has been included another punishment provision. I have missed this slide, but I can read out it from another sources. If any adult or male or female contract a child marriage, it shall be an offense, and for this she shall be punished with imprisonment, which may be extended to 2 years, or with fine, which may be extended 1 lakh taka. So the punishment has been increasing in Child Marriage Restraint Act 2017. That means 2 years of imprisonment and 1 lakh or more taka for committed child marriage in any purpose. So this is the punishment. Now I would like to move on the FPB initiatives to stop child marriage. FPB has been working since 1980s along with children and adolescents. Basically, FPB's youth program has been initiated from 1980s, and after that, along with the different raising alarming social consequences, FPB incorporated and implementing its program and projects along with the concern of global priorities. So FPB accelerates its effort to reduce child marriage along with its different program efforts. So we should move on the next slide and can see different things. FPB conduct training with different stakeholders, and through SRHS session make community people aware about the child marriage laws and punishment associated with this. And again held different training like teachers training, community advocates training, and provide sufficient information about the bad effects or social and health consequences of child. FPB establish and conduct FPB establish a young group as in community advocates who are basically working as with free of cost in FPB, and they have been trained on child marriage and other CSC issues so that they can work as a community advocate. And there are many more examples that FPB's young people try to stop the to their friends or other well wishers. They were going to the chairman, local community authorities, going to the imam or teachers to stop child marriage to their friends. So there are many more examples on that issues in FPAB. FPAB Mymensingh branch has developed a memorandum and provide to district officer to see the consequences and alarmingness of child marriage. FPAB organized human chain and bicycle road march, and we can see some photographs of bicycle road march, which has been started 2015 under Champion project. It was it will be an landmark initiative from FPAB. The bicycle road march has been started from Cox's Bazar region, and it was expected to be in Tehran, Iran, but due to different fund and technical phenomena, the initiative has been stopped. FPB has promoted the issues along with Facebook and social medias also, and we can see some cyclists here who has been participated on this program, and really it was a very responsive program for FPAB. If it gonna finish along with the expectation, it can be create a blast. So next slide, FPB has organized different consultation meeting along with the government people. We can see here the Deputy Speaker of Bangladesh Parliament and 15 Parliament members has been joined the meeting, and different CSOs has also joined the meeting. There was a discussion along with the SDGs and SRHR related issues, and more concentration has been given on the alarmingness of child marriage. So that was also a landmark meeting for FPAB, and again we are taking concern the community effort. We have been implementing different child marriage specific projects, say for stop violence against women and girls, in brief is VAUJI, community action for child protection projects. It is an European Commission funded project, CACPB in brief, SRHR campaign projects, Unite for Body Rights project, and from all the project has been implemented in concern with community child protection and make risk free to the child against child marriage on other social phenomena which has been affect adolescent sexual and reproductive health rights. FPAB Youth Parliament members has been developed and expressed a memorandum to Bangladesh government. It is also a case of in 2015 or 16 to raise awareness against the minimum age along with the section 90s, which has been incorporated in a special provision child marriage can be occurred. They has provided a memorandum to Bangladesh government, but there has no response from that. It was still in the same phenomena. So now I would like to move on the digital campaign of FPB. It was a child marriage specific campaign which has been regulated under GSC funded project. So we have organized a campaign. The campaign issues or content has been created by young people from FPB Tarar Mela youth gathering places. They have created the content, they have shared the content with headquarters. The content has been designed and designed by a special consultant, and that has been disseminated in social medias. FPB has its own groups, Family Planning Association of Bangladesh NHQ groups in Facebook, and another page, Tarar Mela Voices. So through these groups and pages, FPB disseminate all the information regarding stop child marriage, and there has been the response has been very well, and around 1 lakh people has been reached along with this message and contents. So here we found a few content. I don't go through this because you all can see this. So
time has actually come to an end. Can you please wrap up?
Yeah, sure. I'm wrap upping. So I just want to show you 2 photographs here. This is the campaign content which has been disseminated and regulated by young people of Tarar Mela. So I would like to end my session and thank you very much for all of your patience hearing.
Thank you so much, Nasreen. I found that discussion around how you've done advocacy at so many different levels, having stakeholders who are religious teachers to general public, and then working with district level officers and parliamentarians, to be particularly inspiring. So thank you for that. Let us delve into that again when you talk about questions. Let me invite our next speaker, Mr. Tariq Farman. Please take the floor. You have 20 minutes.
Thank you very much.
Please. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I would like to appreciate you and also Dr. Taiba for communicating for the past few days. So today I'm going to present our presentation. So can everyone see?
Yes, Tariq, can you make it full screen, please?
Yeah, sure. So this is Tariq Farman, and I'm a project officer at Afghan Family Guidance Association. Also, I'm a youth focal point of Afghan Youth Network as well. So I basically communicate between AWINE and Afghan whenever AWINE has some issues. So they usually refer it through me, and I'm happy to be part of this journey. And today, the topic that we want to cover is the premature and forced marriages and the risks involved, especially like in Afghanistan. So this presentation is prepared by Afghan Youth Network. So they all prepared this presentation, and I appreciate them for their work. So first of all, what is marriage? Marriage is a natural event, and it has become a cultural, and it is a formation of human society. So marriage is a contract that legitimizes the association of man and woman, and it is the purpose of forming a family and rights, and create rights and traditions between the parties. So I can understand that in some countries, like maybe they say that there is no need for marriage to like for a man or woman to associate or to gather and form a life. But since I'm talking mostly about the South Asian regional, or especially in Afghanistan, so in here we usually practice marriage while forming a family. So what are the premature and forced marriages? In most of the studies, like the premature marriages is said to be taking place at the age of before age of 18. So whenever the girls are married, or the boys, it can be as well. So it is like premature marriage. And also the forced marriage is that whenever it is without consent of the couple. So this can be either below the age of 18 or after the age of 18 years old. And unfortunately, of course, these things happens in Afghanistan, especially in some provinces that are away from the main provinces. In main provinces, mostly due to the universities and adult educational centers, and also due to people's literacy. So people may not allow these harmful acts to happen. But in some other provinces, unfortunately, when they are far away from some of the educational centers, it can be said like they are away from technology and everything, other opportunities. So mostly this practice happens in there. And factors of premature and forced marriages, like in the past, it could have been happened due to transactions and kinship and inter-ethnic friendships, and also these were the factors that girls were promised to marry at the young age. And also there were some incidents that could have happened and took place especially between the villages. I was looking for the English word, unfortunately, I could not find it, but in here we call it bad. Whenever, say an example, when two villages fight with each other, or two families, and then one person is killed in there. So in order to recompensate that one, so they will ask for the other family to give one girl for them. So they will take that girl and will marry to anyone. So this can be either part of premature marriages, and also it can be part of forced marriage, because of course the girl will not have the consent to go and to marry in that way. And also ignorance of the families can be also another reason for these factors. It could have been in the past, and now mostly, unfortunately, one of the reasons that Afghanistan the people are suffering is that we hear the news, especially at this government, that some people, they are selling their unfortunately their daughters for an amount of money due to poverty, and they say that in case if every one of us die, then this can be a better solution for that, which is, of course, every human cannot accept this, and I hope that there will be a way and solution for this issue, this big issue. These types of news has been published both formally and informally in through social medias. And ignorance of the families, of course, when the lack of electricity is a big reason. When people are not well educated, they cannot understand what are the dangers of premature marriages that will cause to their daughter and in general to the family. Even in future, we are going to discuss what some of the gynecologists in Afghanistan had saying in this regard. And of course, due to violence as well, this can be another reason. So the consequences in the society, what are the consequences? Of course, it will bring a disorder family. Of course, when there is the age gap between the couple, then there will be some problems between the family and also ethical differences. And these the premature marriages will take us the couples to divorce, and some of fightings or disputes between the family, and also domestic violence, and sometimes, unfortunately, it was causing the women or the girls to escape from their home. And mostly when I saw a documentary regarding the Afghan women who were in prison, most of them were imprisoned because of the escape of their home, due to escape from their home. So they were mostly imprisoned, and this was another reason that mostly when people were asking, or the journalists were asking what is the reason, they would have said that our marriage was without my consent. And also sometimes when the premature marriages happen, so the burden or the responsibilities that fall upon a young person, a very, very young person, so that will make him to addict to other drugs that were available. I'm happy that at least in this government, the drugs are not available, and these people are fighting strictly against the drugs, at least what they are saying in the media. So I hope this will be true. So most of the young boys, when they were married, they were addicted to these drugs, and mainly it was like when they had the full responsibilities and they had no job, or they were facing other burdens, so they were referring to this addiction. So the health consequences, some obstetricians in Afghanistan says that the early marriage can not only cause health problems, but these like victims can also have family problems as well with themselves. And also a number of like women have witnessed the threats that both woman and the child faces while getting married at the premature age. So one of the we have a broadcast, the radio broadcast, and also newspaper that is very well known in Afghanistan. Once they were like searching regarding this, and in some of their interviews, they found out that some people were claiming that when in their area, some girls were married at a premature age, and when their baby was born, the baby was kept in the incubator and for a few days, and then the baby was dying. So this was another health consequence of premature marriages that people suffered from. So according to a survey by
Tariq. I think Tariq dropped out.
Yeah, I think so.
We lost him.
Is this problem with Tariq or it's from
Tariq
our...
only because of internet issue. Let me just check.
Until Tariq joins, perhaps we can take a couple of questions. Shalani, we have some questions for you. I will read out a couple of questions and then you can take a few minutes to answer them. Are you there, Shalani?
Yeah, I'm here, but please apologize. Please pardon me for not switching on my camera. I just ran to work. I don't think I can switch on the camera. I'm at courts. So yeah.
That's fine. That's fine. So one question is, what are the strategies and methods to counsel people with hearing challenges while wearing masks? Because masks has become, our daily reality. So how would you do that is one. And another question for you would be, for our member associations, IPPF has member associations around the world. If you look at particularly information, you mentioned about so much misinformation being out there. You mentioned about accessibility issues. So if you look at priorities in terms of improving accessibility for people living with disabilities, what are some of the key priorities, 2 or 3 key priorities that you would identify?
Yes. So I will address the second question first, because the answer to that is more cheerful than the second one. I think in terms of improving accessibility, the key aspect that we have to focus on is first to sensitize the people who are able to communicate. They are like sign language interpreters. So in the case of in the example of Sri Lanka, what happens is mostly people who are conversant in sign language are either family members or parents, or in rare occasions, staff members at the schools. So other than that, there's there's really no one who is capable of handling sign language. But in terms of SRHR content, one thing that we can do is to sensitize them first, the ones who actually are currently acting as the bridge between the deaf community and the wider society. So like when YANSL was first implementing the project We Hear You, which our first step was actually to sensitize the staff members, because and get them up to speed with the SRHR, technical knowledge on SRHR. So that is the main thing that we can do in one level. And secondly, one thing that we also found out is that some of the people living with hearing disabilities haven't visited the hospital in like 10, 12 years, because they know like for like small issues to check blood pressure, like the normal fever, all of that, because they know like going there is like staying at home doing home remedies is easier than going to the hospital and going through the trouble of finding someone who can actually understand them. So it will be really beneficial if at least a basic sign language training is given to the police and maybe even healthcare service providers and such essential services, at least the basics, at least in or like the enough the basic level of sign to, because that it's not really difficult to learn basic level of signs, so at least to communicate the fact that you will have to like speak to someone else, or at least like the basics. So that could also improve the quality or the communication barrier between people living with hearing disabilities and the wider society. But like the most practical way would also be to, in whatever the information that we impart upon the wider society, to always apply or include a sign language interpretation on the side at least. And in Sri Lankan example, the only place where we get that is the news, and again that is also just like a small space in the screen in the top the bottom right corner, which is not always helpful. So this was an issue back like when the pandemic hit, when there were certain subsidiaries rolled out, none of this information reached the deaf community in time, and there was a lot of difficulties and challenges faced by them. To answer the second question, I like it's actually a problem that I see at this point see no practical answer, because masks are essential. Unless we make the masks transparent, it's difficult for the deaf community to see through that the but the other thing, so in terms of communicating, what we do is usually we text. So something that we can do is, maybe if it's one-on-one communication, we can write down the content in large texts and communicate it to them via that mode. But unfortunately for the masks, I'm also at a loss in figuring out a solution, because on one hand it's essential for the public health, and in order to make sure that we're safe from the pandemic, and on the other hand it's the interests of the deaf community also. So actually the answer to second question is actually still something that we've been also mulling over, and also the problem sort of expands further as well. So if you are maybe taking a taxi now, the standard practice of taxis in Sri Lanka has been to have I think this whole transparent screen to avoid whatever the body fluids of the passenger from reaching the driver. So we were discussing the same thing, and what was communicated to us was, before then they could have reached through to the front seat and given directions through signs like left and right hand signs. But now that is also impossible. So there's a pandemic has posed quite severe, serious challenges towards the deaf community, which has they always now have to accompany someone who can communicate orally for most things. So other than those practical solutions, as of now, there aren't many plausible and long-term sustainable solutions on the table.
Thank you so much, Shalani. I suppose it's also about, exploring what are potential practices that can transform. And I completely agree with your point about linguistics and how sign language should be, we all need to learn. We are countries that speak multiple languages, and we learn it at a young age. We learn it quite naturally. So if you truly have the willingness, if you really desire inclusion, I think definitely that's the way forward. Thank you so much for that insightful comments. We have Tariq, who has joined us back. Tariq, do you want to take the floor and share your screen? You have about 8 minutes remaining from your time. Tariq, can you hear us?
Was it
Tariq,
Dr. Yes. Oda. I'm going to reshare my presentation, and I really apologize for the inconveniences.
No problem at all.
So this is Jim Alexander. He was the general director of World Vision Office in Afghanistan. He claims that 57% of Afghan girls marry before the age of 19. And his findings were showed that most of the prematurity marriages were occurred between the age of 10 to 15 years old. And in Afghanistan, 57%, like he said, he believes that according to his study, that girls were marrying before the age of 19, and 70% were through which between 10 to 13 years old, 32% were at the age of 14, and 27% were girls at the age of 15. So mostly like in Afghanistan, people were like to get married at the early age, but of course in Kabul and other main cities, we are happy that mostly people are taking care of this issue, and they try to they claim that their children should complete school and universities, and after that they should get married, or at least some through which, when sometimes I make joke with my friends, is that I'm saying that some parents allow their daughters to get married before the age of 18, and they take a commitment from the groom that until 2 years, for example, you cannot have baby. So after the age of 18, try to have children. So this is a little bit like changes that we see in here. So in order to eliminate premature and forced marriages, like of course we can do this through awareness campaign and the harms of these types of marriages, and also trying to make the culture this as a cultural that to proceed literacy among the community, and also taking the religious scholars' opinions regarding this. Most of them currently they are claiming that the marriage should have the consent of the both man and woman, or the boy and the girl, and then they also say that the people, the bride and groom should be like to an age that is at least at the age of 18. And also the implementation of Afghan Civil Code is also another another reason that can, once it is implemented, so this punishments for those offending families that are doing these acts can be also stopping these, not just to stop, but to eradicate these underage marriages. So thank you very much. This was our presentation, and we will happy to have any questions if possible. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tariq, for that presentation. We have a couple of questions for Tariq and also for Nasreen. So let me ask Nasreen a couple of questions first. Nasreen, you mentioned that you did a bicycle march campaign. So we would like to know, what was the positive impact that came out of that campaign? That is question number one. The second question is, you talked about a lot of advocacy efforts, advocacy with government representatives. Was there any kind of opposition or hostility, difficulties in doing these advocacy efforts? And if there were, how did you sort of address these challenges, overcome these challenges?
Okay, thank you, Uda. I would like to answer for the first question, positive impact. Yes, on that time there are lots of positive impact throughout we have throughout this campaign. Say for example, we have incorporated the different champions from all over the country. Say for example, we are selected a national BD cyclist team to go through and support us throughout this journey. They has taken the lead. Again, we have incorporated different national figure. Say for example, national actress Salahuddin Lavlu and another actress Chunki Appa. So they have a different social impression in media people and in community as well. So we have selected them to communicate along with those issues for which we are really expected to conduct the bicycle road march. So we also have published different ICBCC material. We have rent different trucks and a pickup van. We are trying to connect all the community people along with those ICBCC material. As long as the cycle road march has been ongoing, the ICBCC materials has been distributed. Say for example, in our journey, we can see a school and we pull it out and we can go through over the school and engage teachers and other students from those schools. We are passing a community and we have incorporated with community people along with these messages. So there has been a huge response from all the community along with all the community support for this road march, and different national and local media has been published different report follow up throughout this rally. So yes, we must say there are lots of responses, and that has been telecast and published in different national and social medias as well. So now I'd like to go along with your second question, hostility or different difficulties. Actually, we are invited 15 parliament members, but there has been reached only 7 parliament members, but the deputy speaker from Bangladesh parliament has been joined there. And our SARO representative also along with us on that meeting. Different CSOs has been represent their issues regarding the child marriage and its consequences. So we are fully prepared to going through along with these issues, and we are make them understand about our concerns. So we can find nothing pressure or hostile attitude from those government stakeholders. Rather, they are accepting the issues, and they are offering us the next step to extend their support to going through our or move forward our strategy. So yes, Uda.
Thank you so much, Nasreen. Thank you for that insightful responses. Tariq, we would like to know from you, please take a couple of minutes to quickly answer these 2 questions also. We would like to know a little bit about, how are women, you mentioned about young girls being imprisoned for escaping from home. How does that work, and what are some of the services available for these young women who escape from the family? That is number 1. And the second question would be, what are some of the strategies, approaches, best practices that you have used to engage young men and boys to eliminate child marriages? How can you better engage young men in eliminating child marriages?
Dear Oda, I appreciate your question and I will have some of my opinions. I don't know if I should ask some of our youth members as well if they have any opinion in this regard. Yeah, perfect. Okay, first I'm going to just say briefly to them, and then I will explain what I have with me and if they have any opinion in this regard. چطور ما میتونیم که یعنی early marriage یا marriage زود هنگام و بسیارشان زودتر اینا رو از بین ببریم؟ شما اگه باز ایدیا داشتین به اینجا بنویسین ما باز چی میکنیم؟ خیر سعی کنم توی So dear audience, in terms of how the women and girls were imprisoned due to the early marriages, it was not just like due to early marriages, but it was like due to the escape that they were having from their home. And then once they were having like mostly when they were marrying, so they were at the age where they were accepting the marriage contract. So although this was against the rights that they were having, like they shouldn't have married at before the age of 18, but yet when they were like more than the age of 18, then they were having the escape from their home. And when these people were imprisoned, so they were saying that when we were married at the age that was before 18. And apart from this, like other reasons could have been family issues that caused them to be imprisoned. So unfortunately, like this was not this was an act that was not acceptable in the previous government for a couple to escape and to leave their family. So the previous government gave this right for that the man of that household to have these claims against the woman who were escaping from the home without any consent. So these issues could have been solved. I believe these issues can be solved by implementing a proper law and advocating for a proper law, just to make sure that the woman or the girls are married at the age that is like legitimize them for a marriage. For example, it can be like 18 years old. And apart from this, like when they have some issues with their household, they should complain that with the relevant security clusters in order to mitigate this issue. And if they have any very big issue, then of course there are some juristic organizations where they can help them to at least to get separate from their husband if their husband really have any mental issues or really proper issue. Otherwise, I hope that for this government we could advocate and ask the security cluster to take care of these pre-marriage issues and to deal with.
We need to wrap up the session because our time in this session has ended. Thank you so much for those insights. We would love to know more about the complexities around child marriages. I hope there will be future opportunities. Thank you so much for speaking and sharing your insights with us, Shalani, Nasreen, and Tariq. And thank you everybody for attending this session. Hope you have a fruitful day for the rest of your day. Everybody have a great day. Thank you very much. Thank you, Tariq, Nasreen, and Shalani. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.